What's up, guys? Today, we're gonna drive into the alignment between content strategy, content creation, and my favorite part, syndicating the content so the whole world can enjoy it and you can get traffic back and start getting a lift in your business. So all of those things have to happen, and a lot of times that's where everybody gets overwhelmed, or the workflow gets complicated, execution starts to suffer, and it just becomes a gigantic nightmare. So we're gonna unpack all that and make it all go away and sort out how to do it and do it well right on this video, so stick with me. Okay, let's jump into the strategy piece. That's probably the most important component to this, because everything else is going to be flawed, failed, and end up like a piece of poop if you don't figure out the strategy. So strategy needs to come from understanding the needs of the content, right? So is it to engage, convert, educate, share? We've got to figure out the goals. And once we figure out the goals, we can start to come up with building a strategy around how all that's going to work. So start with that and add to that what the delivery mechanism is. And I would say that because understanding the delivery platform, social media, email, website, advertising, video, etc., print, pamphlet, brochure, could be all sorts of stuff, right? That actually is important right now in the strategy phase to understand that, even though syndication is really the third part of what we're going to discuss. You need to put a pin in what the syndication goals look like right now as you're starting out, so that you can frame up the content creation so it fits into that, which we're going to talk about right now. All right, with the strategy in place, the next thing to start thinking about is the audience. And I think that's kind of a bridge piece, because understanding the target audience is also strategical, but it is going to help you start to figure out what kind of format is going to resonate and work for you in this regard. Do these folks consume on social media? Are they blog readers? Do they watch videos? Are they YouTube consumers? Right? Are they wanting print pieces from your business, because that's going to help them understand your product better? Okay, so you got to figure that part out, and who they are and who it is that you want to engage in order to take the next steps. Okay, the next thing I would add here to this is it's really important to have some sort of calendar. Like, you've got to have a planning mechanism for this, and you got to hold yourself to deadlines and so forth. So you really need like an editorial calendar, a publishing calendar, a way to keep track of everything that we're going over in this video. And there's a lot of tools for that, but also, you know what, a good old-fashioned spreadsheet is pretty much a butt kicker for this problem. So I would invite you to figure out how to stay organized, or whatever works for you is what you need to do. And keep track of it, but also hold yourself, your team, and everybody that's helping out and working on this with you, and maybe it's just you, to some sort of accountability. And I don't think anything's worth doing if it doesn't have a deadline, because otherwise it's just talk and nothing really gets done. So get that part spooled up as well, and that's going to be a huge help in actually getting things out the door. The other thing, and I just mentioned it, is getting your team involved, right? And getting some collaboration. It's really hard to do this stuff in a bubble and not have other people to bounce ideas off. And for larger brands, this might mean using project management tools, getting the entire team in a room, talking about campaign initiatives and so forth. But on a small scale, even having one other person to bounce ideas off of is incredibly helpful. And we do a lot of that here. You know, we have content coach. We've got a number of our staff that are involved. We've got ideas coming from me. We've got ideas that I look out of our sphere to harvest and synthesize, and we bring all that back and we kick that stuff around. So do not hesitate to get other people involved. It can be incredibly helpful in synthesizing and get even better ideas on the table. Okay, I'm actually super stoked. I've decided that I like making our videos like this and just goofing around. This is my normal gig. I will try to get out of the office and go find lunch. Otherwise, I feel like I could spend 4 or 5 days and never leave. So that's one of the things I do to recharge and get ideas for content just like this, and start working on my laptop here while I eat a little bit of lunch. the piece that gets me excited about this whole conversation is obviously syndication. When are we going to get this stuff out, and how are we going to get it out, right? So we have two elements here that we have to figure out. One, timing, and two, the where. So the when and the where is what syndication is all about. Now, the last thing that I would say is sometimes there's budget involved, and you need to figure that out if you're going to do any sort of paid syndication. But a lot of times we can syndicate, quite well for almost free using social media, email marketing, our own website, places like YouTube and other folks where other spots like that where there's good amount of audience around. And if we do well with our titles, our keywords, and our hooks, we can get a good amount of traffic without spending a dime. And then on top of that, you can stack some paid placement and syndication if budget allows. And if budget allows, you can get a lot of mileage out of the efforts in strategy and creation if you can pay and get a lot of eyeballs on it. So it's something to really think about if this is a big piece for your brand, your product, your service, and you want to get a lot of people in front of it. So syndication is really important to get right. It also is the piece that you can recycle and do again and again, which is hard to do sometimes once you create something. It's hard to go back and make it again. But on syndication, you can get something out and you can put it out a second time, you put it out a third time, and put it out a fourth time. So keep that in mind. Okay, let's dive into syndication, which is really one of my favorite topics because it includes paid advertising and paid placement, which we love to do and can add a lot of firepower. First off, let's just define it. Syndication is the distribution of your content or your message, if you want to tighten it up a little bit. How are we going to reach the right audience, at what velocity, and at what frequency are all things that are part of the question marks around syndication. Is this thing going to get sent out once, or is this thing going to get sent out 100 times? How many times are people going to see this, right? And is it maybe evergreen, right? If it's going to live on a blog and it's syndicated there, are we going to promote the blog? Okay, so that's like a secondary syndication move. We're going to publish it, and then we're going to try to drive traffic to it. Okay, so that's like a two-step deal. Part of that is channel optimization, right? Each channel has unique requirements. So you're going to want to tailor your content to fit. And we talked about that earlier, and that's why I called out figuring out where you're going to get delivered feedback in the strategy conversation on this video. And either way, though, if it's on social media, probably need eye-catching picture, Instagram type of stuff. So there's going to be some needs that arrive out of deciding what the syndication is going to be. Either way, you got to figure out the channel, figure out the frequency, figure out the timing, figure out the launch date, and all that stuff needs to get logged, documented, and you got to stick to it and follow the formula because the next part is looking at the data, how the results were, what happened, and then reiterating and adjusting your tactics so the next time is better. Don't forget that. You got to create a feedback loop with all of this stuff so that you can evaluate, debrief, change what you're doing a little bit, and go for better results. Can't say enough about that. All right, so let's wrap this thing up. The whole gist of this is that you have these three pillars, right? You've got the strategy, you've got creation, and you've got syndication. You've got to tie them in and work one to the next, right? So they have to stay in alignment. Your strategy should inform your content creation, and your creation should suit appropriately your syndication channels and your target audience. So the full circle approach is what ensures that all of it has purpose and is going to reach the people that you're hoping to reach out to. And remember, our marketing, like sort of one-on-one statement, right? Outbound messaging designed to elicit an inbound response, which hopefully means more customers, more revenue, so on and so forth. So as like a little example there, if your goal is to boost engagement, you might create a piece that's specifically suited for Instagram, then repurpose that for YouTube and email. But the main thing is to always be tying everything back to the core strategy, right? And not get off the side of the road with all that. So go ahead and challenge me in the comments below. I can't wait to see you guys on the next video, and get out there and work on getting organized and thinking about these three segments in the process. And I promise you your workflow will just get better and your results will then get better. See you on the next one.